All right, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to do a quick update on VRA. I'm sure all you guys are curious. It's a big bag of mine as well, so I'm excited to dive into this. We're going to do some chart analysis, price predictions, and then get into some recent news on VRA. So let's get started right now. First of all, let's kind of cover how we got to where we are. Obviously, it's been a couple ugly days for VRA. So let's kind of talk about what happened and where we're going to go from here. So first of all, obviously from, late September to just a few weeks, or, basically a month ago now, November 1st, we saw a nice trajectory in this channel here and right here. And after we got to this kind of key fib level up here, that's kind of what started this downward pullback. So we got rejected, and we saw a lot of altcoins do this, right? We saw a lot of altcoins reject the 1.618 fib. So that was almost, par for the course. So we weren't too worried about that, if you recall, when I was covering VRA just a couple weeks back. But then we retraced about 30%. And what happened when we retraced 30% is we tried to regain support on this trend line, as you can see. And what happened was that we failed to do that. So once we failed to do that, the chart dropped almost immediately down to this next fib, which actually turned into the neckline of a head and shoulders. So you see the shoulders here. Sorry, head and then shoulders. And so once we kind of tested this fib of 0.056, you saw us kind of sitting on here almost for a couple weeks, and it was looking like we were going to consolidate, and then we bounce off this and come back up. I think a lot of people were talking about that. I probably mentioned that in my last video. But on this day, as everyone was watching, Bitcoin did not behave. So December 2nd and 3rd was a really, really bad day. Obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum, we're down 15-20%. And obviously, at this point, this early in the cycle, we need to have Bitcoin behave for altcoins to behave. So that's kind of how we got here. We printed a head and shoulders, which is obviously a bearish pattern, broke that trend line, printed the head and shoulders, fell down because of that chart pattern, and also the Bitcoin pullback. So now let's kind of talk about key levels. So currently where we're sitting right now, we are testing the 0.618 fib level as a potential resistance right here, as you can see. And we're also wicking down and touching the 200-day moving average. If you follow crypto a lot, you know the 200-day moving average is very, very important, especially when you're looking at huge moves to the downside. You do see, a lot of coins picking up support against the 200-day moving average. So I would watch for that as well. This is going to dip more like this too, since we've seen that kind of downward trend in the chart that hasn't necessarily been baked too much into the 200-day moving average yet. So keep your eye on that. But I do think that right now, if we don't hold this level, so that would be, 3, almost 4 cents. If we don't hold this, and it looks like we're trying to stand on it right now as I'm speaking, if we don't hold that, I wouldn't be surprised if we drop down to just above 3 cents. And this is where I would get a little bit stressed. I have this section marked off. I kind of call this the danger zone in terms of where VRA could be headed, because to maintain kind of this upward trend, right? At least, obviously it's negligible, but it is still an upward trend. To maintain that, to kind of print another bullish channel, we're gonna want to stand on the one that I just circled here, just above 3 cents. But if we fall down to our previous support, that means that we're gonna have to put in a lot more work to head back to the upside, right? So this was our previous support. Further down the chart, you always wanna see those supports and resistances moving up if possible. So that's something to watch for as well. But right now, let's just kind of talk about short-term price action and long-term price action and kind of get into a couple realistic scenarios. So let's assume that whether or not, so let's assume we bounce off of this, and then if not, we bounce off of this. So let's assume that we avoid this kind of death zone that I've marked off, and let's just assume the bounce, right? So assuming the bounce, really, I don't think over the course of the next few months, I don't think we're going to have a problem sitting on top of this fib, I think our real challenge is going to be the 5.5 cent mark, because this also, and I'm going to clean this up just a little bit for you guys. I know there's a lot going on in this chart, so let me just 2 seconds. What I want to see, or not what I want to see, but what I think is we're going to see is not really too much of a problem, especially if we stand on this kind of 3.5 cent fib. I don't see us having a problem with this fib. So that would be, I think, the 0.786. I don't see us having a problem with that one. I do see us, excuse me there. I do see us struggling with another level though. I do see us struggling with this neckline. So this was our Head and Shoulders neckline. It was previously a very, I mean, I don't know about very, but a pretty strong support. Almost a week we kind of stood on top of this, and then obviously we had that Head and Shoulders print and then the Bitcoin crash. But that neckline is going to be some serious resistance. So I would assume that we either bounce off this fib or bounce off this fib, and then we're going to consolidate here at the very least for, I believe, a week, maybe a few days. But it's going to take some time to consolidate between here before we convincingly break above the neckline, in my opinion. Just because when you're coming back up against a Head and Shoulders, typically this neckline just gives you a lot of trouble, and not that we can't break above it, right? But usually we're going to get forced back down into continuous consolidation. So you might come up here, you might see it wick above a little bit, but I think we're going to probably end up consolidating within here and then sitting on this after a good period of consolidation. And then obviously after that, key level, we got to break this to keep going to the upside. But talking about short term, I think you guys really need to be watching for one, the bounce off of 3.7 cents right here, and then if we do not hold this, that's kind of the level you need to watch here for the short term. If we do not hold that though, you then need to look for 3.2 cents. And then once we finally bounce back up, which I think we will do here in the coming weeks, I think when we come back up, the next serious resistance, so the next resistance level that's going to cause some serious consolidation, I believe, will be the 5.6 cent level. Okay. So that means that, from our current level, I don't see us having a problem, going another 40 to 50% pretty, I don't mean easily, right? But like without a ton of resistance, I think that we can easily do that. Almost similar to what you saw over here, right? I mean, only a couple days, right? You're only seeing a couple days of resistance. Whereas here we saw us holding support for, almost a week and a half. So I think something similar to what you're seeing right here in these few candles could happen over here as we develop consolidation before standing on top of this, right? But I kind of see something similar to what happened over here, right? I mean, not this much, but I mean, look, we went up 115% in basically just a week and a half. So it's definitely not unheard of to get a big bounce here and then kind of immediately shoot up, 40 or 50%, and then find heavy resistance and consolidate again before pushing and testing the 8.6 level. And then just for, just out of say curiosity, let's see how far this would be. So that would put us at 80%. So obviously, we would have some work to do bouncing off of either of these, but just to hammer that point home, this is going to be such a critical level, and we're probably going to consolidate before it. Long term, let's just kind of review what we've talked about before. We're going to keep it kind of brief because I've talked about it so much. But in my opinion, so for example, if we're going to replicate what we did here, we'd be looking at something between 30 and 40 cents for an end of cycle prediction. I don't necessarily see $1, $2 happening. You see that a lot on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I don't see that happening unless we get like a back-to-back, Binance and Coinbase exchange, and it's heavily adopted. I just don't see $1 happening for Verasity this cycle. I mean, I could be wrong, right? I'd love to be wrong, but I think we have to be realistic and go off of what we've seen before. So long-term end of cycle, I think we should be looking for 30 cents, just because 30 to 40, just because at the top of our current fib, we're looking at 21 cents, and that's just baking in the chart. So I'm kind of giving a little love to VRA, saying that, okay, we are going to have some fundamental news come out as well, which we're going to cover here shortly. But going based off the TA and then also based off of what we've seen before in the chart and the fib, I think 30 to 40 cents would be a rather, I think it's a pretty fair target for VRA without those exchange listings. If we get both of those and we see a lot of volume, obviously, I mean, it could go into price discovery and things could get crazy, but we need to keep our heads level and dig ourselves out of this trench first. So obviously, 3.7 cents, we're hoping we stand on that. And then key level and the key resistance we're gonna face is 0.056. So that's kind of, the wrap up, the key levels I'm seeing short-term and long-term, and then the chart analysis. But now I kind of want to get into some recent news about VRA. So first thing I want to mention, and we actually covered this a couple weeks ago before it happened, but VRA kind of had their first big event, first big sponsorship with Axie Infinity. They hosted the FTX Galaxy Cup 2021. And they used the VRA technology to help stream and do play to earn during the tournament stream. And so they actually were able to earn VRA, Axies, plushies, and other items. So the overall sentiment is that it went really, really well. People were impressed with the technology, but just excited to see more partnerships like this, right? So if this went well, what else is in store for partnerships for Verasity? So this gets me excited. The other thing I wanted to mention, one of their big patents that they put into the application in the United States just got approved. So this is for the reward video viewing. So this is for the watch and earn patent. And this got approved in the United States. So this is a big, big moment for VRA. This is, as you can see, almost 3 years in the waiting. They filed it just day after Thanksgiving in 2018. So it's been long awaited, and they have had these chips lined up for a long time. So excited to see this patent actually get put to use and see what that means for VRA. The last thing I want to touch on, VRA for the first time in a few weeks, maybe even months since we had that pump just about a month ago, it's back trending on Twitter. So the last couple weeks, we've seen it coming in and out of the top 10 coins trending on Twitter. This means people are interested, people are researching it, and people are covering it, right? So that means that other people are actually sharing information on VRA and other people are consuming it and interacting with that content. So exciting to see. People are curious, people want to learn about it. And now that they're showing a lot more muscle in the metaverse space, that's going to bring a lot more attention to VRA2 and obviously a lot of great companions on this chart. But that's going to do it for the video today. Hopefully this helped you guys. And just want to say there's no reason to panic, right? If you are on a long-term outlook, holding for a year or more, no reason to panic. We covered the short-term levels that we need to hit to keep the uptrend going. But overall, no need to worry. And let me know what other altcoins you would like me to cover. Always happy to receive some of that feedback. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.